Welcome, everyone. I'm delighted to be here. Managing information overload. What a mouthful in today's world. If it's not information about the latest treatment, it's about COVID. We are just bombarded constantly. And many people, of course, want to know what's going on. You want to take some information, and especially if you've gotten a new diagnosis or a new treatment, people want to dig in and see what's going on. So how can you do that mindfully and without getting overloaded? First of all, it's absolutely normal to be overwhelmed by a diagnosis, and it's certainly normal to be overwhelmed by too much information. I saw a very good, a funny little New Yorker cartoon this morning, and it was a fire hose, gushing out. So yeah, our go-to is usually the internet, right? Our phones, we're looking up information. So how do we manage the stream that's coming at us? First of all, like dealing with your medical team or your loved one's medical team, it's a real good idea to try to keep it simple. It's a good idea for a caregiver to be assigned, to have someone with you when you see your doctor, because that natural overwhelm is already there and you're going in to see a doctor or a new clinic, a new provider. A caregiver with you can listen for the information that you really need so that it gets translated to you later on, because chances are you're going to be sitting there in somewhat of a state of anxiety and overwhelm, and that's okay. And it's also nice just to have someone with you so that caregiver, that person with you, can actually take down the information, because it can be sometimes medical and complicated, or just, again, too much info if you're already, kind of upset as you're going in. So I saw a hand. That must have been, okay. So there are many pulls for our attention. Our phones, the computer, the newspaper. What can be really helpful before you do a deep dive into information on your own, you're at home and you want to look things up, is to set an intention. So first of all, you sit down at the computer and you decide, all right, what is it that I'm going to do here right now? I'm looking up blood tests, say. All right, there's your intention, and set some time. What's reasonable for me? How much time can I spend on this and that I can stick to? Okay, maybe I'll limit it to half an hour. And the idea is to really stick with that, because we know the pulls for our attention can go in myriad ways. There's ads popping up, right? Are you set for your retirement? 99% of people in the world are doing this for their retirement, right? And suddenly you're getting pulled over there to, uh-oh, I better do that too. So just, again, your intention is, I'm looking up this particular topic. I have this amount of time. I'm going to stick to my intention. It's a good idea to limit the sources that you seek information from, because that's the other thing that's like a fire hose, right? So many different sites, and quite frankly, there's a lot of info out there that's not been vetted. There's certainly misinformation. There's people, that's the nature of the internet. It's infinite, and anybody can put info out there. So you want to be selective in your search. The research that I've looked at, it's really recommending that you limit it to maybe 2 sources. For instance, if you were looking up information about COVID, perhaps you would choose some well-known websites like the CDC or like the BBC, a certain news organization, and you would stick with those because you get used to the way they use their language and, you know, any kind of follow-up on the story. And then you're also limiting where you're getting information from. Now, you may have a source that you really rely on, you know, American Medical Association, Oncology Association, that you've used, and that would be a good one. But again, you want to keep it small, because that pool to go where, you know, so and so's research is going on, maybe it's not vetted, and you're going to end up walking away being even more overwhelmed and going down on that rabbit hole. I frequently ask my clients, I'm a therapist, I see people individually, what would happen if you took an information diet? I don't really like that word diet, but it gets to the heart of the matter. Like, if you were to limit how much time you spend on the internet or on your phone, and a lot of people really react to that one. Well, if I don't check what's going on, aren't I like sticking my head in the sand? And, you know, there's so much good information out there. It's like, yes, but again, it's this constant funnel that anybody can add to. So what if you took a break from checking your phone or, you know, looking up the latest information because you want to check in with yourself first? Am I in a place that I could handle possibly upsetting news? Maybe today's not the, and I'll avoid that snacking on my phone, you know, and let it go. If it's something important, it's going to be there for you, right? So that's another way of just limiting how much time you really look at things. When we check information, and, you know, you're looking for things, like I said, maybe a blood test, like what's this going to show me? Why is the doctor ordering this? Are there any risks involved? You might, you know, take some notes, try to, you know, again, be simple in what you're seeing, or you know, save the link for this site, because then those are questions you can take to your doctor. Okay, I read this thing on this website about this test and that it's not really all that thorough. I'm curious why you want me to take that particular one. So you've done your research right there. You wrote down your questions that you can go directly to your doctor and find out, you know, what the necessity for that is. Checking in with yourself while you're researching, you know, during that time you've set. And what do I mean by that? I literally mean checking in with your own body, like what's going on with me? Like right now, where you're sitting, can you feel yourself sitting in the chair that you're in? Can you feel yourself being held as you're sitting? You know, gravity just naturally holding you. That's a way to get mindful in the moment. Like, how am I doing with this research I'm doing? If you notice, wow, I'm feeling really anxious here. You know, my heart is pounding or something. Maybe that's a place to just stop for a moment. You know, take a breath, just check in and see, now, do I want to keep reading this or not? But that little bit of mindfulness can really help with overwhelm, because before you've gotten really overwhelmed, you've already kind of nipped that in the bud, and then you can move on. So you're watching for info, you're taking notes, you're keeping simple information, you know, simple words, simple questions that you have for the doctor. And then after you're done, so, you know, you've done a half hour, an hour, whatever time you set afterwards, that checking in with yourself can also be a really good strategy. Because the idea is we want to let go of overwhelm before it carries you through the rest of the day. And chances are there's going to be some information there that got you thinking about things and what does this mean? What am I going to do with this info? Is this helpful for me or for my loved one? So you've done your research, you're checking in with yourself. It's like, okay, what kind of thoughts am I having? What's going on here? And just noticing, okay, these are just thoughts. Maybe they're fearful thoughts of, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't see the point in this test. That's okay. You're just recognizing that. Any thoughts that you might have, again, that could come in handy with, do I want to bring this to my doctor? Do I want to talk to my family about this? Taking some notes. The idea of writing things down is a really good way to keep things simple as well, because a lot of times we're afraid we're going to forget something. And so if you've written down what was important to you, what stood out to you, you know you can turn to that and, yep, I did my research, I've got it ready, when it's time to go to the doctors, I can let this go. If we don't write things down that are important to us and things that may overwhelm us, we have the tendency to just ruminate on that. Most of us can be really skilled in ruminating, just thinking and thinking about it. And the idea, though, is the more you think about it, the more overwhelmed and anxious you're going to get. That's just the brain-body connection. So writing that down and putting it aside is good self-care. The simplicity of taking notes that you've gotten to your doctor, or maybe you're going to talk to your family about what you noticed, that helps you also focus in on what stood out to you as you were researching is what's most important to you. That can spark some good conversations about, oh, now I understand why this particular issue is important to you. Your family member or your doctor might have additional information, or, it's good feedback to see maybe there's another option, something you hadn't thought about. I used this word before and I'm going to share it with you again. It is so, so common for our very active and curious brains to kick in at night. I hear this all the time, and it's certainly been my experience, right? You're about to quiet down and all of a sudden here comes your mind. Oh, there's this, there's that. And it can be hard to shut it off. It requires being really intentional, getting in the moment, like, okay, where am I? I'm in my room, I'm trying to get to sleep. This thought keeps popping up in my head. Can I let it go? Can I take some deep breaths and concentrate that I'm in my room right now? I'm going to talk to you about a little strategy that can help your body calm down. But the thing is, oftentimes we can't let that thought go, right? Again, we might be afraid we're going to forget. Or does it mean I'm being neglectful if I don't think about this? If it's something that keeps happening to you like that, you might decide to have a piece of paper and a pen by your nightstand, and you write down, okay, here's the thought I'm having. I don't know, whatever it is, my sister Helen, whatever I'm thinking about. So you put it there and you really tell your anxious mind, okay, tomorrow I will take care of this. And then you're going to deliberately go back to doing something to calm down. One specific thing, if you've never heard of it, is called the 5 senses. And it's using our body to calm down, to get out of the anxious mind. And once you do it, it really can take like 1 or 2 minutes. So here's what it involves. And I'm going to send out a handout from my talk today. So if you're not taking notes, can remind you of this. But here you are in bed, you've written down that anxious thought, keeps popping up, and you decide, all right, I want to be calmer. The five senses, as you're laying there, you're looking around, you start with 5 things that you can see. You're going to note 5 things you can see. You're going to note 4 things you can feel. You know, feel the bed, feel the sheets, feel your pajamas. 3 things you can hear, and that can be a really clever one because usually we have to kind of really, you know, discern the different sounds, but that's helping you get calm and mindful as well. 2 would be things you can smell, you know, your sheet, something next to your bed. And the last would be taste. And maybe you have a glass of water there. If not, you still can notice, you know, there's a certain taste to our mouth that we're not usually aware of. That can be really quick. And the wisdom of that is you're getting in your body. So you're paying attention to what's going on in your body, and you're focusing your mind away from those anxious thoughts. So you're harnessing that mind and its energy so that you can just start to relax and naturally fall asleep a little bit easier. When we get overwhelmed, and that's what a lot of information can do, it's really hard to think clearly. It's one of the most uncomfortable states for people, the sense of overwhelm. Again, your body is reacting to too much information. It's hard to make decisions, and then it just can escalate, right? You've got too much information, maybe you've got a decision to make, and you're just overwhelmed after all this stuff that you looked up or something you listened to. So that's not a time to be making a decision. You know, give yourself some time to get away. If you find you're already really overwhelmed, maybe you just go outside. If it's practical, you know, just simple walk around the block. You're trying to just help your body just move that overwhelm out of your body so that your mind, your body can calm down, and maybe you can make a decision or at least just feel better. Yes, there's very good research about that. And if you found it to be helpful for you, all the more. The reason those can be so helpful is because, again, it's getting, you know, our minds tend to go like this. If you've ever heard the expression monkey mind from Buddhist philosophy, our minds can just jump from topic to topic. So if you're using white noise or an app, that mind that tends to be really curious and want to jump around has this nice focus. So yeah, it can zone right in, and it can give you something calming that you're focusing on, and then it's guiding you to relax, and then your body's going to relax. Yeah, that's a good question. I've seen a lot of people use those kind of apps at night, since, again, that's when a lot of times our minds come on pretty strongly with thoughts. And they might do like a guided relaxation. There's free ones on the internet, or, you know, some really inexpensive ones too, but a lot of good ones out there that are short, you know, like 5 to 7 minutes. One thing that I use with clients a lot is just, it's called name it to tame it. You name the emotion that you're feeling in the moment. So it's mindful, and it's helpful, and it can bring your thoughts, some clarity to your thoughts, and just bring like a synchronicity between mind and thought. Let me give you an example. So I went into the grocery store recently, And as we know, grocery store in today's world it can be anxiety provoking, right? And here's this big sign coming at me. Talk about information overload. A big sign with, you know, you're going to be stopped if you're not wearing a mask. And then there was this station. They were trying to be very careful. But I noticed myself suddenly feeling pretty darn overwhelmed. And I stopped right at the door, and I realized, wow, I'm really overwhelmed. And then because I teach this, I, you know, practice it too, I took a nice deep breath to help myself just calm down. And then I was able to look at my thoughts, observe my thoughts. And the first thought in my head was, well, I could just get the heck out of here. I could just leave. And it's like, okay. But because I had named what was going on for me and took a breath and watched my thoughts rather than reacted from them, I was able to calm down really quickly and just went about my business. Now, it's not always that quick, but it really can be. So it's called name it to tame it. You name the emotion you're feeling. No judgment, just, oh, here's overwhelm. Look at that, there's anxiety. And then you might notice the thought that comes up with it, because very often there is a scary thought, like, oh my gosh, I can't go in this grocery store, you know, and you just notice that. Nice deep breath, get back in your body, help your body relax. And from that space, there's just some more choice and less reactivity of, now what am I going to do? Do I want to continue going in the store, or do I want to leave? It's a nice grounding experience, the very opposite of overload. That's a great tool from cognitive behavioral therapy, just a simple little throwing it in there. Yeah, what's the worst that could happen? Because chances are, when it's just spinning in our minds, you know, that's what I mean when I'm going like this. Our minds are going down the rabbit hole. Oh, there's going to be no dinner. And you go on, you know, you bring yourself in the moment and go, so what's the worst that could happen? Oh, I won't have chicken tonight. And then what? Oh, I guess I could use leftovers, or I'll have a bowl of cereal. You know, it puts it into perspective. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a great comment. Yeah, because there's good information, there's books, there's research that I've taken all these little snippets from and made it simple, because I don't want to overwhelm you with too much info. But there's good info in the handout that I'm happy